did Chuck Schumer sacrifice himself to save his party? Now, technically, the short answer to that question is yes, but the reason that it's technical is because I'm not sure if this was really a sacrifice more than a distraction. We'll get into that here in a minute, but I want to address something up front. I actually debated whether or not to use the word sacrifice even in this segment, the segment headline, because a lot of times we view the word sacrifice, and when people make sacrifices, they're doing so for noble causes. This was not a noble sacrifice by any means. This is more akin to a pagan ritual where they sacrifice people to their so-called gods. This is not a positive thing, and unfortunately, it's not a positive outcome. In reality, the best outcome would have been if the Democrats stood strong in their convictions against the continuing resolution, which they voted in favor of course, the last few times. They've said that shutting down the government is bad, and then they were going to shut down the government. They threw up some test balloons to see if any of their narratives stuck. They tried the whole, well, we're offering a 30-day CR to keep the government open so that we have time to negotiate. And, hey, all we want are just a few amendments. That's all, and it'll be great. And you guys will still be in control, and it's fine. And Republicans were like, no. John Thune technically allowed some amendment votes, but that's just to speed up the process on Friday, but that's a different story. Anyway, the final test balloon they sent out was Chuck Schumer coming out and saying, we are going to oppose this. We're going to allow the shutdown, and he tried to pin it as Trump's shutdown and Musk's shutdown and the Republicans shut down, and they said, hey, does anybody believe us? And legacy media ran with the narrative for a bit, and the resounding answer was no. No, this is the Schumer shutdown if it's allowed to go through. So then he or somebody, maybe somebody above him, made the command decision of, let's just go ahead and push forward, live to fight another day. Let's not take any more slings and arrows to the gut by getting blamed for shutting down the government and then watching Elon Musk continue with Doge even through the government shutdown. If anything, shut down even more. It would have been awesome. I wanted the shutdown that was blamed on the Democrats, but they, the uniparty swamp, the globalist elite cabal, the deep state, the Democrat Party, and Chuck Schumer in particular, recognized that they weren't going to win this. So to save the party, he said, okay, fine. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to be the bad guy, and you guys are going to attack me, and it's going to be brutal, and it's going to help to elevate the Democrat Party by focusing the anger on one person instead of the Democrat Party itself. Had the shutdown gone through, then the Democrat Party would have been blamed, and that would have been poor for their party. Now, the shutdown was averted thanks to Chuck Schumer, and as a result, Democrats get to condemn him and call him names, and Nancy Pelosi's out there, and AOC is going to run against him, and Hakeem Jeffries is being coy, and legacy media is out there saying all these bad things about Chuck, and Chuck's like, oh, this sucks. And it does suck, but he lost. And I think that at the end, they told him, look, you're still Senate Minority Leader. You still have this legacy. The party is toast in 2026 if you allow this shutdown. Either you find us 8, 9, 10 Democrats to vote for it, and if you can't, then you're going to have to do it. And that's how I think it went down. And he finally begrudgingly said, okay, fine, this makes sense. I get it. I'm not running for election this year. Hopefully, we can make some empty threats about replacing him. This is what he's thinking. Maybe they'll make some empty threats, but then we'll move on to the next thing in the news cycle, and everybody will forget that I endorsed the continuing resolution with objection, but still voted in favor of letting it pass through, and it did. I mean, he didn't vote for it to pass, but he did vote for it to be allowed to pass to avoid the legislative filibuster. So, was it truly a sacrifice? Sort of, and we'll see. I mean, it might. Look, I don't know if he realized that there would be this much anger. He knew there would be anger. He just thought that maybe he could talk his way out of it and sell the notion that it would have been worse off for the nation had he allowed the shutdown. It would have been better off for President Trump. And this part's true, by the way. It would have been better off for President Trump with a short-term shutdown that would allow Doge to get to see, hey, all right, government shut down. What's going to fall apart? Oh my gosh, nothing fell apart. So that means that we need to cut more because, we let 17% of the government not operate for 2 weeks and nobody even noticed, except for, of course, the employees, the government workers. So this was, unfortunately, a very good strategic move across the board for everybody, including Chuck Schumer to some extent. If he can survive this, if he is able to retain his status as minority leader, then this will be a hiccup that everybody will forget here in a few days, a week, maybe a month. I don't know how long, but at some point he'll be able to recover. If they want to press this, and there seems to be an appetite for that, then this could be the end for Chuck Schumer. We'll see. But let's look at some reactions. This one comes to us from Matt Vespa over at Town Hall. Says, CNN commentator said, I've never seen so much anger directed at Chuck Schumer. And they're referring to Van Jones, one of my favorite CNN commentators. Seriously, I'm not being sarcastic here. I actually do enjoy listening to Van Jones, not because I agree with him, because I don't, but because he does tend to have a more honest reaction to things. I'm not saying he's an honest person. I'm saying that he's not very good at hiding things. He just sort of lets it out. It's kind of fun to watch, especially when they lose so badly. According to the article, Senator Chuck Schumer was seen as the only person to handle the reins of the Senate Democratic Caucus after Harry Reid died. Now, everyone is looking to vote this guy off the island. In less than a week, a man who was respected and revered among the rank and file on the Hill among congressional Democrats is being primed to end up like Robespierre for refusing to get into a shutdown fight with the Trump White House. New York liberals' reasons were clear and rational. This wouldn't be a normal shutdown, as Trump would likely use the shutdown to accelerate the whittling down of the federal workforce. The continued resolution was clean, and there was nothing really to oppose here other than, we don't like Trump. That's not a sane reason to shut down government. More importantly, there was no message or plan for a shutdown fight. The disunity among congressional Democrats is unprecedented. Even Nancy Pelosi was urging all-out rebellion against Schumer before the Senate advanced and passed the CR yesterday. CNN's Van Jones noted how the fallout from this will not be pleasant for Mr. Schumer, who he says is enduring a volcanic eruption of outrage.
Then how angry are Democrats at Leader Schumer?
I've never seen this level of volcanic anger at a Democrat ever.
Ever?
Ever.
Wow.
I mean, we can be grumpy, we can be frustrated with each other. There is a volcanic eruption of outrage at Leader Schumer because we want a Mitch McConnell. I remember when Obama had all the cards, Mitch McConnell drove Obama nuts, twisted his pinky, broke his kneecaps, and got stuff done for Republicans when they shouldn't have gotten an inch. They got miles. We have a Senate majority leader who is beloved in this party, but we want somebody who's going to stand up to this bully. Stand up to this bully. Do something. And if you shut the government down and it gets a little bit crazy, at least some politics is about the rationality. There's an emotional need to stop Donald Trump and Elon Musk from running over this party. And I think Chuck Schumer has radically misread the room.
Radically misread the room.
I know I said I like Van Jones because he does seem to wear his emotions on his sleeve and come out and say things that he shouldn't, but he's not necessarily the smartest, even amongst leftists. He's kind of dumb, and I think he's falling for this one. I think he actually said how he feels and that he's falling for it. Folks, this is a con, to be clear. Okay, all this outrage, they know, well, most of them know. Maybe there's some idiots like AOC who don't know, but most of them know that he fell on his sword, that had the CR not passed, had the government been shut down, then all of them would have been blamed for it. All of them would have suffered some sort of consequence from their constituents. I'm not saying they all would have been primaried out or lost their next election or whatever, but some of them probably would have. Okay, I know it's early, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen in a year and a half from now in an election. but this would have been very bad for the Democrats in the midterms. And they need as much positive as they can get right now, because right now they have no momentum. So they know, they get it. This is all political theater. Do you think Nancy Pelosi is really, truly outraged? No, she's not. She's not outraged. She's just like, okay, behind the scenes, she's like, Chuck, I just finished my fourth vodka. Thank you so much. You really took one for the team there, buddy. I'll remember you. Paul and I, you got our best wishes and all that stuff. Bye. That was the worst Nancy Pelosi impersonation of all time. And I'm proud of that fact. Speaking of idiots, though, AOC, allegedly, again, keeping in mind this is all theater, AOC, dimwit, is in the process of considering a rise in power because this lady is maybe the most power-hungry person in politics since Hillary Clinton, which is saying a lot. According to Headline USA, AOC plotting coup against Chuck Schumer? Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez may mount a primary challenge against Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, her fellow New York Democrat, after she rebuked him for voting for a Republican-backed stopgap spending bill. I think there is, I'm not going to try an impersonation here, I think there is a deep sense of outrage and betrayal, she said while addressing reporters at the DNC's annual policy retreat in Virginia, according to CNN. Her comments came after Schumer, we know where her comments came from. Senate Democrats can vote no, she added, we can correct course, and that is the most important thing in front of us right now. I'm not even sure what she's referring to because I skipped ahead. Bottom line is that, she's allegedly, she's definitely running. Okay, she's definitely gonna make a play for Senate to become a senator in New York. The question is whether or not she's ushered in by Chuck Schumer or whether she has to fight him. Now, if she has to fight him, there's a chance that she might, she'll read the tea leaves. Her Justice Democrat cronies will say, hey, we've done some quiet polling and it looks like you're going to lose big if you don't get Chuck Schumer to step down and endorse you. And so I would see it possible for her to be able to do it, but that would require Chuck Schumer's willingness to engage in that regard. One more story. This one's by Rick Moran over at PJ Media. Did Chuck Schumer deliberately enrage Democrats in order to unite them? Now, I almost didn't talk about this story because it sort of paints him in kind of a positive light, but with your understanding and my understanding that all of this is kabuki theater, all of this is faux outrage, and they really didn't want there was a, before I get to the article, I wish I had this visual. I need to find it someday. I've looked for it a few times. There's this, it's a 4-panel comic. Try to picture this in your mind. You got this man holding a leash with his little itty bitty dog. Okay, and the dog is trying to get at this other dog who's like a pit bull or something. And the owner of the pit bull's got the leash, and the pit bull's just kind of sitting there staring at him, staring at this little dog who's like getting pulled back by the owner. And then it cuts to the next panel, and the owner of the little dog ends up accidentally dropping the leash. And the little dog looks down, and the pit bull's looking at him. And the little dog goes over and grabs the leash, hands it back to the owner, and then goes back to pretending to want to fight the pit bull. That's what this is. This is theater. This is Democrats who are very, breathing a sigh of relief that Chuck Schumer did what he did, and then going out and attacking him for it. They didn't want a shutdown. I mean, they didn't care. To be clear, every decision made by the Democrats, and probably 98% of decisions made by Republicans, to be fair, but 100% of the decisions made by Democrats on Capitol Hill are all about their own survival, their own grasp of power. That's it. They will sacrifice anything, anybody else, not themselves, but anybody else, to retain power and to advance power and to gain more power. If it will destroy the country, destroy the world, they don't care. They don't care. All right, back to this article, though. In the weeks leading up to the pivotal vote on the GOP's continuing resolution, the national media and Democrats were wringing their hands over the party's disarray. Democrats in disarray, claimed the Norfolk Daily News. Democrats in disarray as Trump pushes through agenda, declared the Wall Street Journal. Bloomberg pointed out that no one knows how to bring the party out of its doldrums. Democrats are in disarray with no easy fix, the media outlet ruminated. Rudderless and aimless, the Democrats were in a world of hurt. To make the situation worse, no one was listening to anyone else. The idea on how to combat Donald Trump's onslaught went from the idiotic to the dangerous. The Democrat Party was well and truly stuck in neutral with no solutions, readily presenting themselves. At this point, party leaders in Congress stepped up to offer a way forward. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries believed that total, absolute, unanimous opposition to everything Trump proposed was the path forward. When the continuing resolution came to a vote, just one Democrat defected to vote for it. But beyond the vote, there was no unanimity for a strategy to oppose a determined president to implement his agenda. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer decided to vote for the CR and live to fight another day. Schumer believed that the political risk of blocking Trump's agenda far outweighed the certain negative blowback the party would get for not fighting hard enough to derail Trump's agenda. More than that, Schumer probably realized the outrage that would rain down on him personally from his Democrat colleagues in Congress. Schumer has spent a quarter of a century in the Senate and a decade before that in the House. It was not a surprise to him that his own party would turn on him. He's done a great deal of damage to the party, according to Ezra Levin, co-founder of a liberal group, Indivisible. Levin is organizing a conference call with the group's New York chapter and other local Democrats to seriously consider if the current Democrat leadership is equipped to handle the moment we're in. Even House Minority Leader Jeffries refused to perform the political courtesy of backing his Senate counterpart. When asked on Friday if there should be new leadership in the Senate, he simply said, "Next question." It takes a lot more than some backbench senators to dethrone the leader, but from a PR standpoint, it's an unmitigated disaster. Or is it? This is according to Senator Ruben Gallego over in Arizona. Anytime you have a failure, and this is a failure altogether, we as a caucus owe it to Democrats across the country and our constituents to look back and see, how do we get ourselves into this situation? Is it Chuck Schumer's fault that the Democrats would be politically punished if they voted against the CR? Schumer's biggest problem is that the party is hopelessly divided. In the House's near unanimous opposition to the CR, the Democrat caucus wanted to go in half a dozen different directions. There was no consensus on how to proceed beyond voting no. There's no grand strategy because a number of members will reject anything Schumer opposes. The crisis afflicting the Democrats is existential and has little to do with strategy on opposing Trump. They have no strategy because they have no agenda. Schumer isn't stupid. It may be that he's using up his prestige, carefully husbanded over his 30 years in Washington, to act as a punching bag to unite the Democrats in any way possible. He certainly did that. However, moving on from there to developing a winning strategy is going to be a lot harder. Yeah. Very, very true across the board. Schumer knew it. Hakeem Jeffries knows it. Nancy Pelosi knows it. Everybody but maybe a handful of total morons. I'm not talking your standard Democrat level of moronic. I'm saying the total morons. Okay, you know, the Jasmine Crockett's and AOC's and Eric Swalwell's of the world. Those people probably don't realize that Chuck Schumer saved them, or at least prevented them from going completely over the edge. Everybody else in the Democrat Party, at least on Capitol Hill, does. They know, and you're going to see media attacking Chuck Schumer. You're going to see fellow Democrats attacking Chuck Schumer. Will he survive this? Probably. But there's a chance that he won't, because the backlash has been, even though it's manufactured, it has been appreciated. In other words, Democrat voters, Democrat people across the nation have felt the same way. They, too, are angry. They, too, don't realize, or not too. The difference between them and Democrats on Capitol Hill, other than the fact that Democrats on Capitol Hill, most of them are faking their outrage, whereas actual Democrat voters are truly outraged. But the real difference is that Democrats on Capitol Hill realize, they know that Chuck Schumer, what he did to prevent the shutdown, probably saved their party. Whereas the idiot, stupid Democrat voters that are super outraged, very mad at Chuck Schumer, ready to fight in their own petty way, They think that Chuck Schumer somehow ruined everything, that he is somehow on board with Donald Trump, when in reality, had Chuck Schumer done what they wanted him to do, which is to allow the government shutdown and take the blame for it, that would have been far better off for Elon Musk, far better off for Donald Trump, and far better off for the country. Thank you for watching that clip. I hope you loved it. Two things now that you're done watching the clip. Number one, find all my stuff and be sure to follow me on Rumble, YouTube, whatever, X, Getter, Brighteon, BitChute, those places. Go to jdrucker.com/find, jdrucker.com/find. Number two, please help support our newest sponsor. You can go to jdrucker.com/infowars, jdrucker.com/infowars, and shop the Alex Jones store. Help to keep an important piece of the media alive and well. jdrucker.com/infowars.